So the video comes out as Republicans are looking to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett before Election Day on November 3rd. Hearings are set to begin on Monday and should run through October 15th. KUSI political commentator Esther Valdes joins us now, and she's got more on her take about Senator Cruz's approach and that video. Hi, Esther. How are you?
Doing well, Logan.
So what did you think of the video?
This was exactly what we would expect from someone who has argued routinely before the Supreme Court, just like Senator Ted Cruz has. He's reminding the American electorate this election is more than about choosing presidents. This is also about choosing who will next serve in America's highest court, the Supreme Court of the United States. Just like the moderator of the presidential election said, this selection of Amy Coney Barrett has the potential to determine the judiciary for the next quarter century. And let's not forget, this is really about Roe v. Wade and possibly overturning a woman's right to choose to have an abortion, which has adamant emotional, ideological, and religious ideologies at par and at a fight. And we're going to see all of this take place next week as soon as the Senate Judiciary Committee convenes to possibly confirm the next Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett.
Certainly a very strong video, very strong message, really got people thinking about it. Do you think it did more good for the Republican Party? Was it kind of boosting their base? Or do you think Democrats will see this and maybe decide they need to get to the polls even more because of what the video said?
Well, it's a super sensational video, right? But it's really exposing the three-prong approach that Democrats are going to try to take down Amy Coney Barrett. Number one, threats and intimidation. We saw it with Chuck Schumer's shot there saying, "You will reap the whirlwind. Everything's on the table." The next one is to smear her. They already tried that in one of her confirmation hearings where Dianne Feinstein famously said, "The dogma lives loudly with you." In America, we do not have a religious litmus test. In fact, the only element that should be the most important and primordial consideration in confirming a justice is whether they are going to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the third prong approach that the Democrats are threatening to use and that Joe Biden will not renege, that he will condone or not condone, is to pack the court, making it essentially expanding the number of Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court to be more than the number 9, and then to pack it with liberal justices in which their dogma will loudly be heard loud and clear. Just like, sadly, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was an activist for her side, but yet the Democrats do not want a Republican sitting president to be able to nominate and do the same and fill a vacant seat.
Yeah, that was such an interesting argument. I hadn't heard that before, that if Biden wins and if the Senate then turns more Democrat, that they could actually add a justice, that it wasn't in the Constitution or anywhere really that it has to be 9. And I thought that was so interesting. And then, boy, if they start doing that, all of a sudden, whatever party wins both the presidency and the Senate, they just keep adding justices. It almost seems like there's no end in sight if that becomes kind of the strategy.
Exactly. And this was last attempted by the Democratic Party under FDR. And the Democratic Party at that time rejected that notion. And not only that, but it makes the Supreme Court not an objective and neutral and separate entity in our form of government, but it makes it a political branch. That's not what Americans want. But yet the Democrats are willing to change tradition, change the trajectory of our nation in order to procure a seat, because we cannot forget this is really about Roe v. Wade, and that's what Senator Ted Cruz was trying to lay out to the American people in that sensational video clip. Let's not forget, it's not a presidential election. It's also who's going to take the Supreme Court seat.
I recall a time where a president would nominate a Supreme Court justice, and people on both parties would vote in favor of that nominee. And now it just seems like it's become so partisan that you can't get one vote, whether it's Democrat or Republican, to vote across the aisles. And I just wonder if it's going to continue to be this way, or if we'll find a way to where both parties can kind of work together and say, okay, the person you've nominated is a good choice for the court.
The confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett is going to make Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings look like a cakewalk. There is going to be a fight like we've never seen before. She will be attacked and already has been attacked for her religious views. She has been smeared already for, quote unquote, according to Newsweek, saying that she belongs to a cult such as like the Handmaid's Tale, which is not true. This is a woman who is a professor in her own right. She is a working mother. Her husband is the one that stays home and raises the children. But yet the ability and the willingness for the Democratic Party to smear her character and her good name is not off the table. And that's really one of the tactics that Ted Cruz highlighted as well. The willingness to smear and to dissolve that goodwill that you just alluded to, where justices, it wasn't a political nomination. It was simply, will you uphold the Constitution of the United States in the original intent as it was written, and not as a living and moving ideology, but something that was already set in stone at the inception of our nation.
Well, we'll all be watching. It starts on Monday. Esther Valdes, great to see you, Esther. Thanks for the insight.
Hello, and likewise.